So it is time once again to talk about thought transmission. Thought transmission really sums up all of manifestation really well. And I've talked about thought transmission before. I'll link my original video that I made, I think about a year ago. I'll link it somewhere here so that you can go check that out if you want to watch my original explanation of thought transmission. Today, I want to give you a personal story example of it. So again, you really get, oh yeah, this is what we're doing as manifestors, because especially when it comes to manifesting people, really what we're doing with those people we're manifesting is thought transmission. And my story is going to really exemplify that. So we're going to get into that. Before I do, I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Genevieve. I'm a manifestation coach and a spiritual teacher and an energy worker. And I'm here to make manifestation a lot easier for you, a lot healthier for you. There is a lot of toxic stuff in the manifestation community these days. And we're not doing any of that. We're not doing any superficial ego, weird control, like abandoning yourself to obsess over something stuff. We're done doing that. We're doing manifestation in a healthy way so that we actually get results and we feel amazing. So I am here to help you approach manifestation in that way. And if you want to work with me, there are lots of ways that you can do that. I have courses that are listed below that you can do right now. I also do private coaching, so there's a link to that if you want to get on my calendar to talk about your situation, your stuff that you've got going on. You can also join the membership portion of this channel if you want to do the monthly group coaching call that I do with people. So all the links to everything is down below, so check that out. But let's get into my personal story that is really going to exemplify what we're doing here as manifestors. So quickly, let me just remind you what thought transmission is in the simplest way I possibly can. Thought transmission is really just whatever you are thinking about another person, whatever you're judging them for or loving them for, or whatever you're assuming their experience is, that is what happens. Sounds exactly like the law of assumption, right? Well, because it is. Thought transmission is really as simple as whatever you think someone is thinking, they're going to start thinking that, or whatever you think someone is experiencing, they're going to start experiencing that. Why does this happen with us humans? Because we are not separate. All of us humans are a singular expression of one collective consciousness. So when you step into a particular energy towards a person or towards a thing, that person or thing has no choice but to experience the energy or the thought, because thought is energy, back towards you. So that's the simple, broad definition of thought transmission. But let me get into my example, because this is how I use it all the time. But a few weeks ago, I was on a flight, and as is very common on flights, there was a crying baby that was a few rows up ahead of me. And as I often do, I thought, oh, I know how to get this baby to stop crying. And I decided to go into my thought transmission sequence that I'll explain a little here. So the baby is crying, and the first step is obviously, oh, I noticed there's a 3D thing happening, and I'm accepting that it's happening. As you'll notice, everything I'm going to say in this is exactly the manifesting steps we always take. The first step is acknowledging, oh, I see this is happening, I accept that it's happening, but I'd like to change it. But the changing it thing isn't coming from need, it isn't coming from a reaction, it's coming from, oh, I know that I can have an influence on this situation. So for me, in my situation, I hear the baby crying. And also I'll say in this particular situation, I wasn't actually that annoyed by the baby crying. It was more actually from a place of compassion that I was noticing, oh, this baby obviously seems really upset. I would like to give this baby a different experience. And I'll say, when you're manifesting or using thought transmission from that kind of perspective, where you're making it more about a compassionate giving to that other person or being, and not so much a selfish, like, well, I just need them to stop crying because I'm annoyed. So when you move out of your own selfish reaction and into more of a, I'm going to influence this for the greater good of the other being here, and obviously for the comfort of everyone. When you kind of shift to that focus, it also makes this much easier and much more effective. This is why acceptance is key. Why it's like, okay, first of all, we're just accepting that, yep, there's a baby that is crying. But I can speak from myself of sometimes in the past when I've tried to help a baby to stop crying with the technique I'm about to say, if I am really myself like dysregulated about it, like if I'm really annoyed, like, oh my gosh, please, this baby just stop crying. If I can't get out of my own reaction to the current 3D happening, it is hard to change the experience. So just keep that in mind, because again, this is all the same stuff we talk about manifesting all the time, that you have to start accepting what you used to be very reactive to. Step one is accepting. Yep, this thing is happening, but I can still change it, but I'm not going to be changing it from this place of need. Like, oh, I need this baby to stop crying. We can't be doing it that way, or we're not really going to have much of an influence. So that's step one, acceptance, and not doing this from reaction. Doing this, if you can, from a place of compassion for that other being. Step two is simply going within. So for me, first I came within myself and I was imagining myself kind of with the baby and sending it comfort. So this is also kind of, because I am an energy healer, that's a lot of what I was trained in, is energy healing. So for me, that was kind of my first sort of step, was like, okay, I'm going to send it healing. But the next step, which is honestly the most important step, and this is again just how I like to do it, is I actually go into the I am of that baby. And remember, we can do this because we are not separate. I am that baby and that baby is me. We are a part of the same collective consciousness, the same collective soul experience. We are each unique expressions of that soul experience, but the baby and I are not separate. So I can kind of go into claiming, okay, I am this baby and I am feeling so comfortable right now. I am feeling so loved by my mother. I can kind of feel myself feeling just so comfortable in her arms and just feeling so at peace and so calm. And I can feel this like beautiful sleep coming over me. So that is what I chose to do, is coming into the experience. I'm going to experience myself as that baby, really feeling just so safe right now and so comfortable, and really just all of the discomfort that I was feeling, wow, it's all gone. And I just feel so safe and comfortable and sleepy, and I can just doze right off to sleep. I step into the experience of that for that baby. And that is, again, a technique that you can do for any being. You can do this with a specific person. If you want to step into the I am of that person and experience what, loving experience you would like them to experience. I'll also say, and I know this is true for most of you because my audience is a very positive, healing, higher vibration audience, although I don't like that term. But I just want to say this to make sure you all understand. I would never, ever use this stepping into the I am of another being for a negative thing at all. Like, if you wanted to be evil about this and try to step into someone else's I am and give them a negative experience, that would really affect you. Because remember, we are all one. And if you are having a punishing mindset towards someone, or like, for example, I could see potentially some people trying to do this with like a third party they didn't like or something. I'm going to step into the I am of that third party and I'm going to like make them suffer or whatever. Like, if you did that, you would just be deeply bringing yourself into your own suffering, because that's the level of consciousness that you are going deeper into. I hope that makes sense, that whatever you do to other, you are doing to self. So I say this as a disclaimer that you should never be using this thing of stepping into someone else's I am to give them a negative experience or to punish them, because really you would just be bringing that upon yourself, maybe tenfold, because that can definitely happen. And if you're putting out such negative karma like that and using these laws of the universe in negative ways to try to be punishing or whatever towards other people, you are going to bring yourself down even more. You're going to bring down your own suffering upon yourself even more. So I definitely just put it out there. We are never stepping into someone else's I am in a way to cause them suffering. We are only ever using this gift that we have, this acknowledgement that, yeah, I am that baby is me. We're only stepping into this to help raise the energy. We're bringing healing and positivity, and that is what will come back to us. So this is just super important to keep in mind, just in case anyone's stumbling upon my video and is like having nefarious intent. You will only cause yourself ultimately much, much more suffering in the long run if you use this in a bad way, because they are not separate from you, and that is the crux of how manifestation is even possible. Okay, that was a little bit of a tangent, but it was a very important tangent. So back to what I'm doing. So remember, I'm kind of within my own experience, and I'm really letting myself marinate. And again, this baby is just like so comfortable now. They're feeling like all that tension, the discomfort of being on this flight is just gone, and they're just feeling so safe and so comfortable. And in this particular instance, a few weeks ago on my plane trip, it worked like that because, as I said, I was in so much acceptance already about this baby crying. I wasn't really doing this from a place of, oh my God, I'm so annoyed that this baby's crying. Can this baby please shut up? I really didn't have much of that in myself to work through. And again, because I came at it from such a neutral, accepting place, it was like that baby stopped crying. It was like not even like 5 seconds, and that baby had gone from crying for a bit, like they had been kind of, crying for a bit, to suddenly like totally knocked out quiet. And they stayed quiet for really the rest of the flight. I did not notice that baby making any sound the rest of the flight. So, okay, this is thought transmission. So how can you be using this in your life, especially when it comes to specific people? I will say though, this also works on things like plants, anything that is a part of consciousness. So here's another like funny story. So I have this orchid, and for any of you who also own orchids, they can be a little bit finicky. Like they really need very like perfect 3D circumstances to thrive. They need the right watering, they need the right light, and all of that. But also they really thrive off of energy that is sent to them. So if I ever notice, and honestly, what's so interesting about me, I'm such a weirdo, is my orchid always looks the same. Like it looks very healthy. I know how to take care of it, but I will literally notice the energy of it. So if I notice like, okay, it still looks healthy. It looks like a totally normal, healthy orchid, but I'll just notice that the energy of my orchid like feels a little bit dull. And it usually is after maybe I haven't really been paying that much attention to it for a few days, and I'm noticing just the energy of the orchid looks dull. I will do exactly what I did with the baby with the orchid, where I will step into the I am of the orchid plant, and I will be like, I just feel so loved and vibrant. I just love this environment that I'm living in. My roots are perfectly watered. I just love the way the sun feels on me. I just feel so loved. I feel so safe and just like I'm in the perfect environment. I literally step into the I am of the orchid plant. And I know some of you are probably like, whoa, this is so freaking out there. But again, it works because all of these living things were all a part of the same collective consciousness. And of course, a plant or an orchid does not have the operant power or capabilities as a human does. They don't have that kind of consciousness, but they're still a part of consciousness. So I can still step into the energy or the I am of the orchid. And I will notice like after I do this, usually like instantly, but sometimes even like the next day, if I'm paying attention, I'll notice that the orchid just is so vibrant. It's like it got that life force back because I stepped into that experience for the orchid, and it really does show in the energy of the plant. But let's talk about specific people now, because I know that the majority of you are often manifesting relationships or specific people. So how would this work with your specific person? Well, obviously you can step into the I am of that person and then choose to experience you, like if you're manifesting a closer love with them, you can be stepping into their I am and step into this really loving, positive experience of you. Like step into them and feel like what it would feel like to be loved by you and to feel like they can just be so secure in their love and appreciation back to you. And remember what I said before about part of what makes this more effective is when you kind of make this about them and not about you. Like if you can step out of your own kind of, again, selfish need of like, well, I need them to love me and I need them to show me attention and how do I get them to do what I want them to do? When you just like put all of that aside, this like egoic, selfish, wounded need stuff, and instead you see this from a totally different perspective of like, you know what, I'm going to do this for that person. That person deserves to feel loved by me. That person deserves to feel healed and good about whatever it is that we've been through together. They deserve to be free of whatever suffering that I've been in about our past relationship. They also deserve to feel free of the suffering and to step into this totally like loving experience about me. Because if you've been in suffering about a person, I know the way this works, they've also been in a level of suffering about you. And when you continue to regard a person from a level of suffering, like, oh, they don't do this for me, they're avoidant and they don't love me and they have so much healing to do, and thought transmission, you're thinking that about them. That is your experience of them, that they're unhealed, that they've like got so many issues, that they're not doing what you need them to do, blah, 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 whatever. You are keeping them trapped in that suffering because that is the level of thought transmission. That's the level of consciousness that you continue to keep them in because that's what you keep assuming, or that's what you keep experiencing. Like, yep, that's the dominant experience that I'm having of them, and therefore they have no choice, no free will, but to keep living in that. And that sucks for them. So when you see it totally differently, like, can you let go of your selfish need and you make this about that person actually deserves to feel better about our relationship. So I'm going to step into their I am and allow them to feel totally safe with me, totally loved by me. And also maybe acknowledge that, yeah, I am SP and I feel so good communicating with you, the manifester. Like, you're stepping into them really having that experience that they would have if you were in a really healthy, good connection. And you can do this again with anybody. You could do this with your boss. Like, let's say if you and your boss at work, or maybe a teacher at school, you've been having a lot of tension with them. You feel like this boss or teacher like doesn't get you, is like constantly judging you, is like so annoying. And so you're living in this thought transmission towards them. It's like, oh my God, my boss doesn't get me. Oh my God, this is like not working, and they don't appreciate me. No, they're never gonna give me what I want, or blah, blah. If you are pushing that out, again, you're keeping both of you trapped in that experience. And instead, you could step into the I am of your boss. And again, all that is being like, I am, insert name, and you really feel what it's like to be them, to be in their energy. Be in their energy, thinking about you in that positive way that you want them to be thinking about you. But again, it's like healing for both of you, because you're experiencing them as like, oh, it feels so nice to know that you, the manifester, are on my team and that we're so aligned, or whatever it is you want them to be thinking or perceiving about you. You're going into their experience and allowing them, really giving that experience to them. And as I said earlier, when you really drop your own selfishness in this, which I get can be hard, and that's why sometimes for some people you need to linger on that step one of acceptance. Like, first, just be totally accepting of whatever has happened, whatever is currently happening in the 3D. You're just totally accepting of it, and you're just like, okay, that's a thing. Now I'm going to go higher. I'm going to go into a higher level of regarding this situation, of thinking about this person and thinking about how I think this person thinks of me. And even though the noise of the old 3D is still there, like, for example, the baby is still crying the whole time that I'm stepping into, you know, the new experience of that baby that I want it to have. In the 3D, my 3D senses are still picking up on the old stuff. The crying is still happening, but I don't care. I'm accepting of the crying. I'm not reacting to the crying as if it's like, oh my God, why is this baby still crying? I'm trying to change it, but the baby's still crying. No, I never react that way. I never think that way. I'm very accepting. Currently, the baby is crying. That's cool. I accept it, not even bothered by it. I'm going to this like higher experience that I'm giving the baby. So as you can tell by the way I've talked about all this, my kind of preferred and natural method for me is, as I've said this whole video, is to step into them, to kind of step into their I am in a loving way and elevate them to the perception and the experience that I want them to have. But if that doesn't feel totally natural to you, you can also just thought transmute with assumptions. And that's what most people do. Like, for example, an affirmation like, you know, SP really trusts me or whatever, that's thought transmission. You are assuming, oh, that's the experience they're having of me. The experience that they're having of me is that they really trust me and like me. So you can do that too. But I have just found personally, and this is why I'm kind of encouraging you guys to try it, that when you make it almost more personal and more real, by again, like in a very loving way, allowing yourself to really step into what does it feel like to be that person, like stepping into their I am in a totally unselfish way. You're not doing this in like this egoic need thing of yours, because as I said, that will backfire. If you're doing this from a needy place, from a punishing place, that's not going to work. That's only going to make your life way worse. But if you're stepping into their I am from a truly compassionate, empathic, like I really want the best for this person kind of a way, it works so well. You get amazing results, and you free both of you and this other being, whoever it is, whatever the context is, you free both of you from whatever suffering you might have been in prior to this moment of going to the higher new experience that you are manifesting or giving both of you. Okay, that was the last thing. This has definitely been long enough, but I hope this made sense. It just felt like it was time to re-up our conversation on thought transmission, because we've talked about it in the past and now we just need to talk about it again. And especially when it comes to manifesting other people, I hope that you have a really fresh, healthy perspective on really how to do that. So let me know your thoughts and your questions down in the comments below. Anything that looks like a question that would be good for a video topic in the future, I might answer, in another video. So just let me know what's on your mind, how this has affected you and landed on you today. And I will see you guys very soon in my next video. All right, bye.